with 15 minutes to go. Richard, are you there?
Hey, Matt, what's going on? So
No, I just noticed it says you're in Toronto.
yeah.
I'll be up in Toronto mid-April at the end of that tour, doing an event with Jordan Peterson.
Okay, great. Maybe I can actually set something up through that organization you told me about, and we can actually have a debate in person.
That's what I said to do.
Yeah.
They book my stuff.
Right.
A lot of people are confused. They're just like, oh, Matt can just do whatever he wants and go book debates. I have somebody who's managing my schedule. I have a couple people who arrange debates. I don't just sit around and, let's do a hangout on YouTube or whatever, because I've got a lot of stuff on my plate, so I like to schedule them out.
Well,
so I gave you that option.
Well, that.
You say you understand it. The audience needs some more context. You say you understand it, but you immediately mocked it.
Okay,
and
well, the thing
suggested,
is, it is in April. I'd rather do things quickly when they're still relevant. Like, that's my thing.
Okay.
But I can understand your position, is what I'm saying. So, I'd just like to ask you...
Sure.
Yeah, so I was actually going back and watching a few of the previous debates you've had. It's my understanding that you believe that morality is objective, at least to some extent, and you share a lot of the same views on morality as Sam Harris?
Yes.
Okay,
As a matter of fact, I just said that a few minutes ago.
Right. So Sam Harris says moral values are truths about the well-being of sentient beings. And
no.
No?
Well, I won't say no. The particular phrase that he used in Moral Landscape was thinking creatures, not sentient.
Okay. Well.
Sentient isn't particularly well defined, because some people in some categories use sentient as anything that can feel pain, and others use sentient to talk about whether or not something has some level of cognitive reasoning abilities. So sentient label doesn't do me much good.
Okay.
Now, Sam at other times may have used the word sentient or not, but what Sam says or thinks about morality isn't in any way something I'm beholden to.
Right.
So why don't we, Sam and I, actually, when we were in New York last week, we talked about whether or not we were going to talk about morality and animal rights issues, and we decided that we didn't want to do it that night. We may do it at one of the other events, in part because I was supposed to do a video on what my views on the issue are, because everybody gets it wrong. And makes just outlandish claims about my views. Unfortunately, I've been in bed with the flu, so I haven't done that video.
Okay.
So you can ask me about what I think.
Okay.
But I don't care if Sam said something different.
Right. Okay. So I remember it was during, like, it's an old video from August, but in that Atheist Experience live show, you said that your views on animal morality are speciesist. So with that,
Yes.
Did you mean that it is okay to kill animals, and let's say in the context, like, needlessly when you don't need to? So if you're at a grocery store, if you have access to a grocery store, and you can either choose to eat a fully vegan diet, or if you choose to eat an omnivorous diet, it's okay to needlessly kill an animal for food just because it's a different species than you? Is that what you meant by speciesist?
Yeah, so this is the thing what I mean about people arguing dishonestly, because when you say, is it okay to needlessly kill an animal, you are injecting all sorts of context into this. My position is really simple. I am not convinced that eating meat is immoral.
Okay, well, there needs to be a context. I mean, if you needed to eat meat to survive, like if you were an indigenous person and you lived in a tribe, I'd say it is morally acceptable to eat meat because you need to survive, but you're obviously not in that position. You have access to a grocery store. You don't need to kill animals to live and be healthy. So I put it in that context, because that's where. That's where the
I don't accept the idea that need is the criteria. When I say I'm speciesist, really? I don't see anything wrong with that. Okay.
Okay.
What we're talking about is what rights we're going to extend, and rights are the product of thinking beings, and they are. They don't exist independent. It's not like rights are out there, as some sort of naturalistic product. We grant rights, and we make decisions about who we're going to grant rights to and who we're not.
Okay, well, there is... Sorry, go on.
So, when I'm talking with people who are arguing for ethical veganism, what they tend to get wrong is I have plenty of objections to the way meat is arrived at in a number of different scenarios. I have objections to certain types of factory farming scenarios and everything else. But I don't think that eating meat is in and of itself immoral.
Okay, well, I don't either. Like, if you find a dead animal on the side of the road and eat it, there's nothing immoral about that. Like, same with finding a dead human on the side of the road and eating it. That might be really weird, but it's not like you're
No, there is something immoral about that.
What?
There is something immoral about that.
What? Like, I can agree that it's disgusting, and somebody who does that is probably has problems, but I mean, you're not, the thing is, you're not causing harm to another person or being.
See, this is the problem. This is the problem with you and a number of others. You have this view of morality that it is essentially about a simplistic notion of causing harm.
Well, no.
And morality is, yes, that's what you just went to. You're arguing that it's okay to eat a human on the side of the road because you're not causing harm. Well, fundamentally, you are wrong in the sense that that is not the only criteria to consider, and you are wrong about whether or not it causes harm.
Okay.
We are in a social construct. We are in a social construct, in a contract with other human beings.
Right, I understand.
It is wrong for me to eat. It is wrong for me to eat another human being, not because of any direct effect on them after they're dead, but because there are people who care about that human being, and because it affects the quality of their life leading up to that. There's a reason we respect the wishes of people with regard to what we're going to do with their bodies after they're dead.
Okay.
It's not because Don tells me he wants me to treat his body in a certain way after he's dead. He doesn't want me to farm out his organs. He doesn't want me to eat him. He wants me to place him in a box and bury him in the ground and put a little A there. I respect Don's wishes, not because when he's dead it will affect him. I respect his wishes because the entirety of his life, he will live his life either with a good, sound conviction that his wishes will be respected, which makes the quality of his life better, or he will live with an anxiety that his wishes won't be respected,
okay, well,
which
at the same
diminishes
time,
the quality of his life.
Okay, well, first of all, there you have a bit of a contradiction. You're going back to well-being, and secondly, it sounds like you're...
That is what I say the foundation of morality is. How is it? Where's their contradiction?
Right, okay. And secondly, you seem to be claiming that the basis for morality is social contract?
No, I've said repeatedly, just literally 10 seconds ago, that my foundation for what I view as morality is well-being.
Okay, so if I were to just shoot somebody in the back of the head, they have no friends and family, so it couldn't affect anyone else, that would be moral because it doesn't really affect their well-being. I'm just shooting them in the back of the head. No, and this is the same type of thing that Matt Slick presents when he talks about, hey, if I could sneak in and rape somebody in a hospital bed and nobody ever found out about it, then no harm's been done. Right.
No, I just gave you the exact answer to that. It's not about whether or not you got away with it. It's about what kind of society we promote. And if we live in a society where we know that somebody can just come along and rape you on a hospital bed or shoot you in the head as long as they're going to get away with it, that diminishes your quality of life leading up to that.
Okay, well, you're going back to social contract.
It is about ensuring our well-being now by talking about what types of rights and protections we are going to guarantee to ours.
Okay, so you're basically claiming that it's okay to needlessly kill animals because they're not a part of our social contract and it doesn't affect us.
No. See, this is what I talk about when you guys are so repeatedly dishonest. I'm not
dishonest. Look, I'm trying to get to the bottom of your argument.
You are, Richard, and I'm going to prove it to you and everybody else again right now because I already called you out for this same thing a few minutes ago. I at no point said that it was okay to needlessly kill animals.
Okay,
you
so
cannot
Matt,
shut up. You cannot take my position and respin it and paint it with your poisonous, fallacious framing.
Okay, I think
have not said that, so don't say that I said it.
Okay, well, I think the problem here is we're not actually understanding the definition of what I mean by needless. When I say needless, I mean you don't have to go to the grocery store and pay for an animal to be killed to live a long, happy, healthy life.
The problem here is not that I don't understand what you mean by needless. The problem here is that you are assuming that I am making a case for something being morally permissible when I am saying that I have not been convinced that something should be morally impermissible. There are moral obligations and there are moral virtues. And I'm happy to acknowledge that someone who never kills an animal and lives their life that way may be more morally virtuous than me. Matter of fact, I'll say it now. I think they are. That is not the same as a demonstration that there is a moral obligation to not kill animals for food.
Okay, well, moral obligation, that would require social context. So now you're back to talking about social contract, and if you're going to use social contract as an argument for why it's not a moral obligation to not needlessly kill animals, so go to the grocery store, buy meat, pay for an animal to be killed when you don't need to, then I could just say, well, social contract makes it okay for me to kill gay people in Saudi Arabia. Or, like, if we go back 200 or 300 years, then social contract allows me to own a slave. It's not a moral obligation. So do you think, well, goddamn, like Hitler didn't break any social contract when he was in power, like killing all those Jews. That wasn't he wasn't violating any moral obligations. Sorry?
Are gays people? Do they have well-being?
Okay, well, are animals thinking and sentient and feel and have a will to live?
It depends. It depends.
Well, it depends, but cows, chickens, pigs?
So are they able to comprehend rights? Are they able to comprehend moral obligations and duties?
Okay,
the fact that something may not want to die is not relevant here. Just like when you talked a second ago, you immediately went to, oh, it's all about social construct, when I've explained to you several times that when I talk about morality, I'm talking about well-being. And when I talk about where I draw lines and why, it has to do with rights, the ability to understand rights, and the social contract we make and where we extend it to. I'm not saying, and you went to, oh, did Hitler do nothing wrong or slavery do nothing? No, those were wrong. They were objectively, morally wrong. The fact that people didn't realize it or care about it at the time is a problem, but that's something that was actually demonstrated, and that's why we changed. Okay. When you make the demonstration for your case, I will change.
Okay.
But you don't get to just sloppily run around reframing things to make it look like I'm saying let's kill animals willy-nilly.
Matt, I'm not trying to sloppily reframe things. I'm trying to actually get to the bottom of your argument.
I gave it to you. I am unconvinced that eating meat is immoral, and you agreed with me.
Okay, so Matt, are you now saying that reciprocation of rights is required to give an animal a right to life?
Reciprocation of rights is a part of being included in the category of who's going to be granted rights and why.
Okay, well, animals do actually have rights. Like, if you actually, the rights have been updated recently. Well, yeah,
I
they
agree.
do. That's why there's actually punishments for actually torturing animals.
I agree. The fact that you extend rights does not mean that you extend all rights, does it? Do they have a right to drive cars?
No, it absolutely doesn't.
Right.
So, like, this is the issue I have with your position. It seems like you're arbitrarily making a distinction between species without taking into consideration
It's not an arbitrary distinction. It is a recognition of differences in cognitive ability to understand, guarantee, and protect rights. It is about moral obligation because that only exists between thinking creatures.
Okay, well, right, so it sounds...
I don't have a moral obligation to a rock, do I?
Well, no, it sounds like you're talking about reciprocation being necessary.
Yes, I just said that a minute ago. Literally, so we are at 6 o'clock, so get to the issue.
Okay, so if reciprocation is the issue, then it would be, like, assuming our society was fine with, like, killing mentally retarded people, which actually...
No, it's not about individual reciprocation. It is about categorical reciprocation.
Matt, wait a second here. If we were to go back...
Why should I wait for you to go down a rat hole that's not accurate?
Listen, you're basing your moral outlook on two things. Social contract and reciprocation of rights.
No, I'm not. I'm basing my moral outlook on well-being. I'm basing my moral position, well-being, period.
Well-being, period. Okay, well, do you think it's in...
I'm basing what rights are given based on the things that you just mentioned, including reciprocation, but not the individual ability for an individual to reciprocate, but the categorical potential for reciprocation within a group.
Okay, well, Matt, if your moral, like, if the basis for morality is well-being, then you should be in favor of veganism, because it's not within the best interest, like, of these animals
It
to
doesn't.
kill and eat them.
So my basis for morality, with well-being as the foundation, is not about the well-being of any specific thing. It is about the well-being of us, of thinking creatures, of
Okay.
those that are ability to consider. So, like, if there's a chicken running around in the yard,
chickens, cows, and pigs aren't thinking creatures?
not in this sense, no. They have no cognitive ability to understand rights or object or anything else.
They don't have a cognitive ability to understand rights, but they do have cognitive ability. Like, they do actually have problem-solving ability, for sure.
And?
Well, I don't understand. Like, you're moving the goalposts around here.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about where we're going to draw the line. You want to extend the line way out to anything that can think and feel, and I don't think the line should be moved that far.
Okay, well, just to be clear, I don't think all animals are equal and all animals are equal to human beings. Like, obviously there has to be a distinction made, but
Why?
I don't... Sorry? Well, because they are thinking beings that can experience pain and suffering, and they have a will to live. That's why we grant the right to life to humans. And since
No, it's
a
not.
lot of these animals... It's not?
It's not.
Okay,
We don't
so...
grant the right to life to humans just because they want it.
Well, no, okay, so there is actually a...
Okay, so now we've acknowledged what you just said was wrong.
Well, no, you're mischaracterizing what I said. Like, if somebody murdered someone...
you
like, I
said
know
we
in the
grant
state
the
of-
right to humans in part because they want it, and I said no, they don't, and then you agreed with me.
Well,
Where's the mischaracterization?
no. Like, maybe I should reword things. So there is actually...
You got like 60 seconds because we're already over time.
Okay, well... Matt, as far as I understand, you keep kind of tiptoeing, you keep going back between two positions. You argue from a social contract perspective, then you claim well-being
about
as the
right.
basis for... Well, you just claimed well-being as the basis for morality, and then you move back to social contract,
I did.
and then...
It's like you can't hear me, Richard. Well-being is the basis for morality.
Okay. And
the other thing that we were
animals...
talking about was rights and what we extend to rights. That's independent from morality. They are tied together in some aspects, but well-being is a basis for morality. I'm not going back and forth between two things. There are two things. There are what is moral, and there are what rights do we extend and to whom.
Okay, so it is moral to not kill and eat animals. You'd agree on that aspect?
Is it moral to not kill and eat animals? Sure.
Okay, so the issue here is rights, whether or not we should extend rights to animals.
No,
like the right to life.
issue here is whether or not there's a moral obligation to not kill and eat animals, not whether or not it might be morally virtuous.
Okay, so why do you believe it's not a moral obligation? Is it because they can't
nobody
reciprocate?
from your side has made an argument that it should be a moral obligation.
Okay, like...
The default is freedom until there's a good reason to limit that freedom.
Okay,
the
so
default
you
is
want the freedom to
rights.
needlessly kill animals.
What, sorry?
You think it's infringing on your freedom to needlessly kill animals that can think and feel just like you.
Bye.
Wow, okay. So, that's Matt Dillahunty. Jesus, that was cancer.